world over. People are killed, our people are killed. We sympathize, we moved on. Even world over. Remember, let us not subjugate or discriminate against our own agencies that we think are doing their jobs. This is a matter that has been aired on our media stations and televisions called Bloodbath Parliament. Honorable Speaker, that documentary was run by BBC World Service, and it's been run through our national media stations. And it captures or talks about the event that happened in June the 25th. A very sad day indeed, tragic and reconcile the country as we move on. BBC World Service has attended to this matter in a way that also looked at the Kenyan society or African society as something that discriminatory, sort of, if I may say so. Honorable Speaker, it looked like our media stations also picked it up without questioning how BBC World Service aired the story. It happens world over. People are killed, our people are killed. We sympathize, we moved on. Even world over. Remember, let us not subjugate or discriminate against our own agencies that we think are doing their jobs. It's a matter of us saying, let us ensure that they have capacity to do their job. But let us not clap hands for foreigners who always come and say, this is wrong, what you're doing. Pointing fingers at whatever we do. BBC is a world-renowned station, media station. They have never talked about the genocide that is happening in Gaza, and yet it's a world service. But they want to incite at this time. So, Honorable Speaker, I think why I'm raising this point because the title itself talks about Bloodbath Parliament. They should have talked about the protests that happened that day in Kenya or Nairobi, but they chose to use the term Bloodbath Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, there is no member who would rise on the floor of this House to support atrocities by any uniformed officer against our citizens. And in fact, we are not here to say whether the Kenya Army or the Kenya Defense Forces have done right or done wrong, because it is not in our place to judge them. However, Mr. Speaker, it is not lost to my mind that in the last Parliament, Mr. Speaker, this House declined to assent to the renewal of the terms of service and the terms of training of the British Army Training Unit in Kenya, the Batuk. Mr. Speaker, when we refused to sign up and regularize Batuk's presence in Kenya, we took a hitting as a House, Mr. Speaker. But in this 13th Parliament, the Parliament has been able to pass that British Army Training Unit in Kenya can practice and train on our mother soil, Mr. Speaker. However, that was not without a rider.
And if these people, I don't know what their intention is. Their intention could be fuel more harm and whatever. I don't know what their intention is. But from the young people that have spoken, it has actually created more anger. We are taking them back to the path that they would rather not walk again. But they are walking it. And we don't know at what point somebody else will fuel it again. You can't stop the media. Somebody else will fuel that anger again. And so for us to deal with it, let this Parliament take that mandate to deal. When we had post-election violence, Mr. Speaker, I was lucky to be in this Parliament, I think, where we do in that Parliament. Mr. Speaker, we set up a select committee. We walked all over this country. And because as human beings, we have a nature to forget. When we thought we had moved on, I remember in one case, we met a woman whose husbands head had been decapitated. She went to her home with the husband's head. And we are dealing with people who are angry, people who are depressed. And going there, Mr. Speaker, I remember today when I was speaking in Parliament, I broke down and cried. Not because of me, but because of what we had. And we think we are moving on, but there are many young people who have not necessarily moved on. Mr. Speaker, personally, I would appeal, and I don't want to sit in that committee, but I would appeal that we set up a select committee to deal with this issue that stemmed not necessarily the finance bill, but the after effect of that finance bill. Mr. Speaker, I humbly agree that we deal with this soberly, and I'd want to discourage us from going through a process which we think may be politically correct, but does not necessarily move us forward as a country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Julius Olesunguli.
Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the unfortunate incidents at Angata Barikoi in Kilgoris constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, yesterday, Monday the 28th of April 2025, was a very sad day for Kilgoris. 6 persons, namely Mr. Paul Parsuben of Kapsinendet Village and Mwalimu Joseph Rono of Chelchel Village, Mr. Isaiah Kipkoech of Kabusa Village, Mr. Gideon Koech of Kapsinendet, and Mr. Nelson Rono of Rotka Village, all of Kilgoris constituency, lost their lives after being shot by the police officers from Angata Barikoi and Lolgorian. In addition, the Registrar of Lands Kilgoris, Mr. Jepkwesi, and several other officers were also injured and admitted to various hospitals within the area. The incident occurred during a protest that erupted over a disputed parcel of land where the current residents are believed to be the rightful owners, having lived there as their ancestral land. The security situation in the region remains tense following this incident. Mr. Speaker, it's against this background that I request a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following matters. 1, the chairman should inform us who authorized the police officers to use live ammunition against residents who are not armed. 2, why did the registrar and surveyors go to survey land belonging to people of Angata without their consent and fully knowing that the land has a title deed? Each of those pieces of lands are owned by definitely known people. And what was the reason why they had to go and resurvey people's land? Who wants to take that land? Mr. Speaker, thirdly, why is the ministry, and I'm talking about the Ministry of Internal Security, retaining officers in Lolgorian and in Transmara South who have overstayed and they have outlived their usefulness, and now they are being used, I don't know, for some special interest? Can the chairman tell us whose interests are these officers serving, and can he consider removing them immediately? And Mr. Speaker, the government should consider ensuring that the families that have lost their people have been compensated.
There is a serious disconnect between the people, the citizens, and police, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some few months ago, you saw a crowd of people actually chopping a hand of a policeman somewhere in Narok because of an accident or an incident which happened somewhere. You saw yesterday there were 5 people who were killed by police. The case of in Lukuyani and many other parts in the country, Mr. Speaker. I think there is need for a police to come up with a policy on how they can have the policemen work with the wananchi very well. And then number two, Mr. Speaker, we need also to sensitize our people to respect the law enforcement officers, Mr. Speaker, because I look at it that at a point where a policeman is threatened and his life is in danger, that's a time they use their firearm. And by so doing, Mr. Speaker, sometimes even killing innocent people. So as a country, Mr. Speaker, I think we need to look on how we can have our police work together and provide, security and service to our people, and also on the side of the citizens to obey the law enforcement officers.
The day after tomorrow, I'm burying my cousin, who is a police officer who was beaten by the public in Bomet. So it's actually a reality. It's called Samuel Orina. We are burying him, and we buried my uncle last week. The same home. And Mr. Speaker, there were sent two policemen.
You must also have seen a policeman under excruciating pain with an arrow lodged in his head.
Yes. You can imagine, Mr. Speaker.
These policemen are also your children.
Yeah. So, Mr. Speaker, you find that in reality this happens. We must find a way of dealing with this, because normally in the house we talk like it's something that happens somewhere. Me, I'm telling you, my first cousin, we are burying him the day after tomorrow. He was killed in Bomet. He was beaten, was left for dead. He went and died of injuries about a week ago. So we need it, something that is no longer theoretical. You need to deal with it seriously.
Tongoyo, you hear that? Yes.
Given the mic, Honorable Speaker, I really want to associate with the sentiment of the members. But Honorable Speaker, is just fair enough to say that police officers are also human beings. Their fathers, their wives, and many a times, Honorable Speaker, as much as we normally, it's easy to condemn the police officer when they're in the wrong. Very rarely do we really appreciate and recognize them when they do good. We just see them when they fail. But once, Honorable Speaker, they do right, or of course they do even deterrent of crime, or even those who are actually in our borders to keep us here safe, we hardly appreciate them. That is an unfortunate reality. I'm not defending those rogue officers who may be a little bit go and against their ethics and provision to kill innocent citizens. But equally, the citizens must at all time, Honorable Speaker, not take the law in their own hand. So that is what I have to say.